because our brain or our intellect needs an orientation point in order to develop another theory, or to develop a communication strategy, or to develop a sort of a framework we can operate with.
Okay,
yes, but we should.
I'm going. Joseph.
I need to jump in here because we've gone back to Shireen, which is something I wanted to do for the last 10 or 20 minutes now, and you've also brought up a lot of things here. I mean, first off, it's ideal for us to think that we can live in a world where we cannot categorize and label. Unfortunately, it's our human nature, you know, and it's not going to happen. But when we take so the aspect is that comes into play is when we categorize, we're categorizing for a reason, and that comes back to when we take a look at neotypical, they're considered generalists, right? And when we look at neurodiversity, they're considered specialists. So it's defining where the generalists belong, and it's defining where the specialists belong. Then when we take a look at that aspect, and now this brings up a book in regards to why we categorize. I'm currently reading a book, and I've mentioned it to you, Andrew, Pattern Seekers. Mm-hmm. And it's a very interesting dynamic of understanding how the brain works and where autism kind of comes into play. And they talk about in the second chapter the if and then approach, because we're very logical. The argument is that we're very logical thinkers, which then leads into the aspect of categorizing, of seeing patterns, of leading that into invention. And we all are able to do the if and then. So it's an aspect of a theory in this book that we are all naturally categorizing through this if and then approach. So now comes the aspect, you know, where we're trying to identify these different maps. And it's not about the map. When in actuality, I disagree with NLP. It is about the map. It's about knowing where we are and where we think and how we approach things. But it's also understanding the aspect of how the mind works. Going back to that theory of if and then. So when we take a look at where neurodiversity is, or where the world is, I mean, that now comes to another aspect, something that I've noticed, is that we're very visual people. If we don't see it, we don't believe it, we don't understand it. I know you disagree, but from my observations of seeing human behavior, I can see that we're very visual people. So when we take a look at neurodiversity, it's something that we can't see. So we jump to the different conclusions. We jump into the miscommunications and not being able to explain.
There are so many things I want to pick you up on.
Well, there's an interesting thing. The eyes are the last to develop, and they're probably the most complex.
Yes.
So it's going to take a huge amount of brain.
Yeah.
So there's a high likelihood that we see, and we see so much more than our little foveal vision. Our eyes see peripherally all the time. So I absolutely think we see a lot, and we give a lot of attention to the visual. And I think that we probably give less to the others because we haven't homed in on them afterwards. Right.
May I jump in here? Excuse me for being rude. May I jump in here? This is a perfect example how we see the world from a very ethnocentric perspective. Because what would a visually impaired person say to this argument?
That's a different circumstance. But if we take a look how people jump to the wrong conclusions, and they jump into their tribalism, which we were talking about earlier, about how the world is. From my observation, it's based on the aspect of how they're seeing things, because they're very visual people. Yes, and we're dealing with the someone who's blind, the visually impaired. That's a different circumstances. You know, going back to Shireen's point, their perspective has honed on different skills.
But this is also we. when we speak about we don't speak about us and them. I'm challenging you here on that, Joseph.
Fair enough.
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? Is that actually I thought we were coming on here with some unusual brains, which we all are, and we've all brought a whole range of different energies to the conversation, which is great. The problem is, how do we help? How do you identify the people you want to deal with? Before I throw that question out to the room, just another message from our sponsors. He said, oh, wrong one. No, not that one.
Yo, what's up?
Baby, let's go.
Top business tips, extraordinary entrepreneur interviews, cuckoo reviews, promotional films, and so much more. This is your Business Live Global.